Welcome to qnawire.
Hi, so for this question, the first thing that we need to remember is the relationship in between the Gibbs free energy and the equilibrium constant. Let's recall that Gibbs free energy in general is going to be equal to the standard free Gibbs energy plus RT logarithm of the equilibrium constant. So if we are at equilibrium, that means that this is equal to zero, so we can get a relationship in between the standard Gibbs free energy and the equilibrium constant, which is the following. So, out of all of the statements that we have here, the first one tells us that delta G, if delta G is lower than 0 and K is lower than 1, then something needs to happen. So, first of all, let's verify if this is possible. Remember that if delta G is lower than 0, that means that my reaction is going to go in the forward direction. And in the case for K being larger than 1, that means that I'm going into the forward direction as being favored. So first of all, this case cannot happen. So here is delta G naught. So this can happen. So in this scenario, this is going to be false. Just to cover everything here, let's check out the other possible statements that were given and verify that all of them are true. In case of B, we know that we're told that when delta G naught is lower than 0, the forward reaction is favored. That is true. Next up, we have that when K is lower than 1, the reverse reaction is favored, which is also true. Remember that the definition for the equilibrium constant is essentially the product of the concentrations of the products divided by the product of the concentrations of reactants. So, if K is lower than 1, that means that the concentration of reactants is larger than the concentration of the products. So, indeed, the reverse reaction would be favored. And finally, the last statement tells us that delta G naught and K are both indicators of the direction of a spontaneous reaction. And that is true because we have this mathematical relationship in between them. So the only statement that is false is that delta G naught can be lower than 0 and K can be lower than 1 at the same time. That cannot happen. That is false.